Good day everyone, I am Rosalem Tenorio from BLS 3A. I am going to discuss about research on librarianship. Here are some research records. Ennis described library research as non-cumulative, fragmentary, generally weak, and relentlessly oriented to immediate practice. Neil stated, librarianship is an information-poor information profession. Decisions are routinely not supported by the evidence of well-designed investigation. Research in the field is poorly communicated, understood, and applied. In terms of the definition of research, there is no one definition, there is more than one kind. Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary defines research as studious inquiry or examination, especially investigation or experimentation. It aimed the discovery and interpretation of facts, revision of accepted theories or laws in the light of new facts, and practical applications of such new or revised theories or laws. According to Hillway, research is a method of study by which, through the careful and exhaustive investigation of all the ascertainable evidence bearing upon a definable problem, we reach a solution to that problem. For Molly, research is best conceived as a process of arriving at dependable solutions to problems through the planned and systematic collection, analysis, and interpretation of data. These general definitions suggest that there are at least two major types of research, which is basic research and applied research. Basic research, also referred to as pure theoretical or scientific research, primarily interested in deriving new knowledge and is at most only indirectly involved with how that knowledge will be applied to specific practical or real problems. Vickery stated, scientific research is concerned with elucidating concepts and their relations, hypotheses, and theories, and is not necessarily and certainly not directly related to technical and practical problems. On the other hand, applied research encompasses a variety of specific research techniques such as systems analysis and operations research. It emphasizes the solving of specific problems in real situations. Much of the library-related research has been applied research, dealing with everything from evaluating book collections to analyzing automated circulation systems. We have also what we call qualitative and quantitative research. Qualitative research methods focus on observing events from the perspective of those involved and attempt to understand why individuals behave as they do. They take a more natural approach to the resolution of research problems. Quantitative research, on the other hand, methods involve a problem-solving approach that is highly structured in nature and that relies on the quantification of concepts where possible for purposes of measurement and evaluation. Now let's proceed to the types of previous library research. Ralph Beals once categorized library literature into the tripartite classification: the glad tidings, testimony, and research. Goldhar categorized library literature with regards to research as including 1. A relatively small body of published research as defined in a narrow sense. 2. A larger amount of published and unpublished services studies or applied research. 3. An even larger number of reports or descriptions of specific situations or simply opinions. And 4. Original data. Library Trends, a 1984 issue, was devoted to research in librarianship, and it reviewed research as related to the history of library and information science, economics of libraries, political science, sociology, psychology of information use, organization theory, public administration, and operations research. Mary Jo Lynch, general categories for describing different research. Practical research, problem solving with information. Bibliographical research, reordering the thoughts of others. Scholarly research, systematic collecting, organizing, and analyzing of data. And scientific research, discovering new knowledge. Matthews described research performed by the U.S. Department of Education from 1977 to 1988, analyzing the products of the research, discussed recent research agenda efforts of the department and implications for future use. McClure and Bishop provided a useful summary of reports published from 1976 to 1988 related to the status of research and librarianship. Several of the reports contained analysis of the types of research methods utilized during various time periods. Powell summarized some methodological studies ranging from an analysis of dissertations dating back to 1925 to an examination of research articles published in 1984, characterized more recent trends including qualitative, interdisciplinary, and technological-based research. Butler analyzed library and information science dissertation to identify the author's gender, the nature of the most highly cited materials, the most highly cited journals, the literature cited, and disciplines other than lists, the countries of origin of publications cited, and the currency of the cited literature. Literature from the list field is cited about 50% of the time and identified education, computer science, health and medicine, psychology, communications, and business as disciplines that impact list research. Bao analyzed the articles published in college and research libraries and the Journal of Academic Librarianship between 1990 and 1999. He cannot identify any research patterns or trends for the journals, except that the internet technology had been a popular research topic since 1994. Crawford reported research patterns represented by the articles published in college and research libraries and journals of academic librarianship for 1996 and 1997. College and research libraries, more than 65% are quantitative empirical studies and 14.3% are non-empirical. While in Journal of Academic Librarianship, there are less than 25% are quantitative empirical, 29.6% are how-to model and issue discussions, project reports, and non-empirical. Hildreth and Aitak analyzed 206 randomly selected articles in 23 list journals published between 2003 and 2005 using 35 factors such as authorship, topic, types of research, data collection methods, etc. On librarians' research productivity, Finney-Wald identified the factors associated with Penn State librarians' research publication output, whereas personal motivation, intellectual curiosity, education, and the most critical expectation of the institution. Hyder and Pem examined librarianship and non-librarianship journals published in 2005 to identify the strategies and data collection techniques used in the studies. There was no significant difference between the librarianship and non-librarianship journals. The survey was the most used strategy, 30.5% for all journals examined. The leading technique was questionnaire or interview, 32.5%. Experimental design, 20.8%, was the second most used technique. Content analysis was the only other specific technique with more than 10%. And the historical research was very low, 1.2%, and showed a marked decline when compared with the result reported for 1975 and 1985 by Jarvelin and Vakar and Kompulainen. Qualitative approaches, including case studies and ethnography, are now well established. Bibliometrics are still valuable tools of investigation, and the largely quantitative technique of transaction lag analysis was grown rapidly to become a major instrument. Approximately 26% of the articles in the librarianship journals use both quantitative and qualitative analysis, while 12.2% of the articles in the non-librarianship journals use both analysis. Fidel analyzed 465 articles published in 4 LIS research journals. 5% or 22 articles used the mixed method research or the MMR approach, which integrates qualitative and quantitative methods in one study. The MMR name or recognition of MMR was absent from these articles and from the methodological literature in LIS. There are also limitations of previous library research. Unfortunately, the past research record of library information science is not exemplary. It has been easier to find criticism of library research than praise. Zweizig called for improvements in research methodologies, especially as they related to users of library services. Lucia and Harder stated, a large proportion of librarianship's research has been uneven in quality and demonstrably weak methodologically. Quadra identified shortcomings in library information science research so far as purpose is concerned. He noted a failure to ask the right questions and to establish a proper theoretical foundation for later research or application. Garrison, while acknowledging that considerable advances had been made in public library research in the previous decade, went on to itemize several shortcomings of research, including the following. Researchers have not disseminated the result adequately. Practitioners have not kept up with research results that have been reported. The profession has been too content with non-research reports. The audiences for research journals have been too limited. Dissertations have seldom had any relationship to previous or subsequent research. The impact of reported research has been weakened due to poor bibliographic control and inadequate availability of copies. And we are done with the limitation of previous libraries. Now let us proceed to the rationale for basic research in library and information science. We have the growth of the profession. Kunji has written, learning to master theoretically and practical application the ground rules of research creates the best foundation for continuing growth in the profession. Basic to the advancement of the profession is the need for the field to test the various myths, assumptions, rule of thumbs, and other conventions by which it has operated for so long a time. To link concepts which have been proven through testing to be valid and thereby establish theories indigenous to the field itself, beyond its heavy dependence on descriptive data and established principles and theories on which libraries and information systems and services can be based. One of the hallmarks of the profession is the ability of its members to give advice to the clientele derived from a body of generalized and systematic knowledge that comprises the theoretical core. Two primary marks of a profession, a service ideal and a body of theoretical knowledge. It has been suggested that librarianship should possess the first but not the second. A profession that would know itself, that would participate or, to use Gabor's phrase, invent the future, must support and engage in productive research. In 2001, the Special Library Association published a research statement putting our knowledge to work, the role of research in special libraries, defining library and information science research as not well developed with fewer peer-reviewed journals, and Grant research in comparison to other disciplines. Basic library is crucial if the field of library and information science is to solve professional problems, develop tools and methods for analysis of organization, services, and behavior to determine cost and benefits of our services, and most importantly, to establish or develop a body of theory on which to base our practice. It is imperative that academic librarians and higher education libraries, among others, develop and carry out systematic research and development programs. These students and professionals must not only be able to read, understand, and value the list research literature, but they must also be able to locate it within its cultural context. A commitment to understanding and applying research is also essential if the field is to continue to advance. Management. Swisher argued that there is no more important activity than acquiring new information that may now or someday assist in the goal of improving our professional decision making. Assuming the responsibility of practical research is probably the most important role a librarian can accept. There is a need for academic librarians to possess an understanding of data gathering techniques which are informed by an understanding of the nature of the research methodologies available, an understanding of nature of the statistical analysis techniques available. Evidence-based library and information science practice began publication in 2006. Its purpose is to provide a forum for librarians and other information professionals to discover research that may contribute to decision-making and professional practice. The American Library Association initiated the LAA Research Series in 2009 to expand the knowledge base of library research by publishing quantitative and/or qualitative research and analysis that addresses topics important to libraries, librarians, and education in their profession. Accessible, useful, and practical, sustainable research. ACRL established the focus on the Future Task Force in the fall of 2001 to identify the issue facing academic librarians and to assess with developing services to future improving learning and research. Reading research reports. Another benefit of having a reasonable mastery of basic research methods is that it should allow one to understand and critically evaluate the research reports of others. According to Swisher, the reader who understands the process of research will question much more about the literature in general and correctly identify the working limitations of the literature. Improved services to researchers. Yet another advantage to having a basic knowledge of research methods, at least for those librarians who serve researchers, is the greater understanding of the needs of researchers provided by this awareness. Ingalls stated, a thorough and continuing personal grounding in the experience of learning and research in an academic setting prepares us to join students and faculty in the creative act which bibliographic research can be. Personal benefits. Perhaps most important among the benefits one could expect to realize from a study of research methods is the ability to conduct research. The study of research methods can improve one's ability to think critically and analytically, competencies associated with leadership. A library's involvement in research can improve staff morale and enhance the library's status in its community. Lastly, to be discussed is the future of library research. Research in librarianship is still relatively young. Clear conceptions of the goals, objectives, and methodologies of library science research are only now beginning to be solidly formulated. Research is too important to be left to dilettantes and amateurs, and its pursuit should be reserved for those who are qualified for it by aptitude, education, and motivation. As Shira stated, a specific part of the course of study for a graduate student in librarianship should be the acquiring of a knowledge of the principles and methods of research as applied to the investigation of library problems, together with the ability to evaluate research results, especially research in librarianship. In a study conducted by Dimitrov, she reported that special libraries identified the following as the top barriers to their involvement in research activities: the lack of management support of research, the lack of money funding for research, the lack of personal interest in research, and insecurity of research skills, and the lack of research ideas. If libraries and other employers are going to expect librarians to equip themselves to do research, then they must be prepared to provide appropriate incentives, support, and rewards. For example, release time, special leaves, and sabbaticals can be arranged to allow more time for research. Administrative support can be provided through salary raises, in-house training, and financial and clerical support for research projects. It is always difficult to predict the future, but research in library information science will probably continue to incorporate more multidisciplinary and qualitative methods. In conclusion, there is mounting evidence that the quality, if not the quantity, of library information science research is improving, and hopefully there is increasing recognition that the results of research in a broad spectrum of effort extending well beyond librarianship will, in large measure, determine the future directions of library services and the nature of profession itself. A statement of American Library Association from 1970 that still resonates after 40 years. End of discussion. I hope you learned something from this lesson. Thank you.